How's it going, everyone? Welcome to this week's Q&A. So like any other week, if you want a chance to one of your questions being answered, make sure you do drop a comment down below. Now, I have a couple of questions that I need to do some answering on. Unfortunately, I can't fit them all into this video, so some of those will go on next week's video. So if you ask some questions, just know that I will get to them at some point, most likely next week if I didn't answer them this week. So the first question of a week is why is it important to do a CKP relearn? So that is a crank position relearn. Now, oftentimes we do this for a couple of different reasons. And it's funny, I was actually going to talk about this today and answer that question. And somebody posted a story at a Honda Tech from California that I talk to on a daily basis that he actually replaced a short block, and the computer he noticed was counting misfires, although he couldn't feel them. So that's one of the reasons. Anytime you do any major job like that, you want to go ahead and do your CKP relearn, even if you replace just a timing chain, a head, a block, whatever, maybe some camshafts, maybe a crank sensor, a crank position gear, anything like that. You want to go ahead and do this CKP relearn because if the teeth are just slightly off and something was worn on the old engine, now that is new and everything's nice and tight, that may throw off the computer and everything not being synchronized 100%. Also, when you have a misfire, especially one that's been going on for a while, now as smart as ECUs are, they're also not smart because they do learn bad habits. So it may think that an old misfire was kind of sort of normal, even though it'll throw a check engine light. So after replacing or fixing a misfire, it's super important to do a CKP relearn at that point. It doesn't seem to be as sensitive for timing belts as it is timing chains, so just keep that in mind. But anytime I do a timing chain replacement, a camshaft, a VTC gear, fix a misfire, anything like that, that's when you want to go ahead and do that CKP relearn. So hopefully that answers the question for you. All right, so steering and suspension, where, when, and what should you be looking at what mileage? So when a car is new, obviously everything's going to be nice and tight for the most part. Now, obviously something can go wrong at any point, and we can have something off that just failed for whatever reason. Maybe just something not put together correctly. Maybe it's a big pothole or something along those lines. Now, if you're getting close to 100,000 mile mark, that's the one you really want to go and pay close attention to these components. Obviously, every time your car is up on a rack, these things should be getting looked at, steering, suspension, leaks, stuff like that. But sometimes you go to a quick oil change spot and they don't look at that stuff. So right around 100,000, I would start paying close attention to everything. So you're going to look for cracked boots or leaking boots on ball joints, tie rods, things of that nature. You're going to look for cracks on the suspension bushing. So sometimes those cracks when the arms are hanging down may not show versus when they're in natural position, or vice versa. So you have to think of all different sorts of scenarios. Also, you want to start checking for wheel bearings for shake this way and this way. Usually a wheel bearing that is bad, A, will have a noise, and B, have some sort of a shake. Usually the noise comes before the shake. So just keep that in mind. You want to check all this stuff. You want to go ahead and check your ball joints with a pry bar. I have a couple of short videos on how to do that and comparing a good one to a bad one. Some people will say, well, anywhere is okay or somewhere is okay. The lower ball joints especially, and even upper ball joints, have zero wear, up and down movement. They're designed to pivot and rotate and stuff like that, but no up and down movement. That means the ball inside of the socket is worn out and it's going, kind of like this. So you don't want that. At any point, at any given time, that could pop out. And that's when you see a car on the side of the road with the wheel kind of, gangster leaning and stuff like that. Usually somebody missed something and didn't look at that ball joint, and that's why that person is in that situation. So also, you want to look at axles. Pay very close attention to axles, especially the ones with the rubber damper in the middle of them. Those things are great for absorbing moisture. They collect moisture in there, they start rusting, and eventually they become almost pencil thin to the point where they snap. So now the car doesn't drive, nor does it go into park. So obviously could be a dangerous situation there as well. So I'll try to have videos on all this stuff as I see them come up, and make shorts. You guys know I like to do shorts almost on a daily basis, that I don't post a full video like this one. Different scenarios that I see, different situations, different problems that were caused by human fault, different problems caused by aftermarket components, even Honda components failing prematurely, whatever. If it's a problem, I'm going to make sure I bring it up to everyone, so everyone could go take a look if they want, or maybe it'll, light up a bulb in their head and have that car maybe more thoroughly inspected at their trusted mechanic or dealer, whatever the case may be, for that given situation. So hopefully that answers the question for you. All right, so the next question is, if your car has driver 1 and driver 2 settings, can you program a driver 1 key to a driver 2 vehicle or person? And the answer is no. Driver 1 key is meant for driver 1 and driver 2 is meant for driver 2. There's no changing that or anything like that. The only thing that can happen is maybe the back cover got flip-flopped or something, and you have a driver 2 back cover on a driver 1 key, or vice versa. But you can't program 1 to do driver 2 settings. It's just not going to happen. And it's something in the transponder itself that has that in programs to that setting of the vehicle. So unfortunately, if you have that, you could program all driver 2 keys if wanted, or multiple driver 1 keys and only one driver 2. You can do a whole different scenarios, but you cannot do driver 1 to driver 2 or driver 2 to driver 1. That's just not something that is doable. So hopefully that answers the question for you. All right, so the next question is, are some of these aftermarket scan tools shorting out BCMs when trying to program a key? So I have heard of multiple people stating this. I have never seen it myself, although I use my trusty Honda X431 scan tool, either version 1 or version 2, and it is yet to fail me. So there are some vehicles that the keys won't program. It'll just say simply, this feature is not supported. Now, some of those may be happening, possibly, I'm not sure, with aftermarket keys. That could also be something that's going on here. I'm not sure. I only use Honda keys because they are meant and designed for that. There's obviously cheaper keys out there for sale, but that may be causing an issue as well. It also may be a software glitch in that certain scan tool. So once again, with the Launch X431, I haven't had any issues. If you had an issue using that specific tool, make sure you let me know, because I want to let Launch know that may be something they want to look at, right? So communication here is key. They may not know it's happening. Again, I don't have any evidence or anybody giving me feedback that this has happened. But again, there are some vehicles, seems to be the 22 and newer, or the latest, I guess we'll call it the latest generation Hondas, that something there isn't just communicating properly with the BCM and just simply not allowing for you to do it, but not frying any BCMs or anything of that nature. So hopefully that answers the question for you. All right, so what are some causes of misfires? So misfires could come in a couple of different ways. You may not even feel them. Sometimes the computer does count them, and they're just little phantom, misfires here and there. But if it counts within a certain period, X amount of counts, it will throw a check engine light and put that vehicle into limp mode, basically to keep it from self-destructing. So some common causes of misfires, and I have them listed down here because I would have remembered all of them off the top of my head, and there's probably more than these. These are just the general ones that I see personally. So tight exhaust valves. Valves could be on either side, but typically it's tight exhaust valves that cause some misfire. So as the vehicles age, it's super important to have these valves adjusted because they do get tight over time and can cause misfire, stalling, and stuff like that. So tight valves, low compression, obviously if the vehicle is not running good and there's something mechanically wrong with it, could definitely cause a misfire. Clogged up fuel injectors. This is a big thing on the direct injection cars. We've seen a ton of these, specifically on the 1.5Ts and the J35s as well, the Earthstream ones, Odyssey's, Pilots, Ridgelines, Accord V6s. No Accord V6. So Odyssey, Pilot, Ridgeline, maybe some passports. I don't know if I've done a passport yet or not, but poor quality fuel. This is another big one. Usually as the season changes, we see a lot of bad gas, so contaminated gas, whatever you want to call it. Sometimes too much ethanol, a computer can't account for it, causing some wacky stuff. So spark plugs, this is usually if it's fouled due to some sort of oil consumption, we'll have a misfire, or if it's under load, something in the spark plug is not right, maybe cracked on the porcelain or something along those lines. So a coil typically will fail and just cause a misfire. I don't see too many coils like fail, come back, fail, come back. There's usually once they fail. Although there could be a tear or a crack somewhere in the boot, maybe some water got in there, something along those lines. So carbon buildup, especially on the intake valve. So if there's not enough air going in there, could throw things off and start causing some misfires. And last but not least, head gaskets. This typically we see obviously a ton of on the 1.5Ts, and it will be a cold start misfire. So the car will run fine. It'll run through the whole heat cycle. As you shut the engine off and it cools down, coolant starts trickling into the chamber. I have multiple videos on this that I captured with my endoscope, or my borescope. If you want to also catch one of those. And so eventually, it stops, enough coolant falls in there, you go to start it, the spark plug has some coolant on it and doesn't fire properly right away. Typically that goes away after maybe 30 seconds or so, but if it's bad enough, it could cause the car to go into limp mode and then shuts that cylinder down or cylinders, and there you have a dead misfire. So hopefully that answers the question for you, and I'll catch you on the next one.